Unit 8, Lesson 66, Mental Health. How much do you care about your mental health? It is perhaps one of the most important things and one of the most discussed things nowadays. Especially after the pandemic, there are plenty of therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists working hard in order to help people. Have you needed to have sessions, like therapy sessions, during or post-pandemic period? We are going to read a very interesting text about how climate change affects our mental health. And we are going to learn a lot of interesting and new words in this text. And I'd like to start from this John Lennon's quotation, which is, "Life is what happens when you're busy making other plans." Have you ever thought about it? How much do you care about your life, about your plans, about living life, about your mental health, about your psychological issues? Do you save some time to take all of those topics into consideration? Let's see. Yeah, so you are going to read this text now. Okay, before you're going to press pause now and read this text and the next page as well. And after, we are going to read it together. Beautiful. Now let's do it together. Let's read this text and let's discuss some new words. For all that's ever been said about climate change, we haven't heard nearly enough about the psychological impact of living in a warming world. If you've heard the grim climate research that science communicators like me weave into our books and documentaries, you've probably felt bouts of fear, fatalism, and hopelessness. Let's see some words here. If you've heard the grim climate research, so grim means sombrio or sinistro, the grim side, okay? Communicators like me weave into, so weave means to cover, so to weave, to cover, to narrate, to discuss, to talk about, okay? You've probably felt bouts of fear, bout of fear means crises de, bouts of fear, bouts of fatalism, bouts of hopelessness, okay? If you've been impacted by climate disaster, these feelings can set in much deeper. Setting. How did you translate this phrasal verb? That's a very nice phrasal verb. Set in means instalar-se. Setting. Much deeper, leading to shock, trauma, strained relationships. Strained, tensas, tensos, no? Relacionamentos, tensos, substance abuse, and the loss of personal identity and control. Crazy, huh? Vital political and technological work is underway. Underway means on its way or ongoing. Okay, it's happening, it's ongoing. To moderate our climate chaos. But have you thought about why we also need our actions and policies to reflect an understanding of how our changing environments threaten our mental, social, and spiritual well-being? Well-being is synonym to well-being, is the same as wellness, okay? Wellness, right? Yeah, I think this paragraph is quite easy. The anxiety, grief can mean luto, pesar, tristeza, okay? And depression of climate scientists and activists have been reported on for years. Yeah. So trends we've seen after extreme weather events like Hurricane Sandy or Katrina for increased PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and suicidality. And there are rich mental health data from northern communities where warming is the fastest, like the Inuit in Labrador. Do you know the Inuit people? I have them here to show you. The Inuit people, okay? People who live in ice regions, so they depend on the ice to survive, okay? And very common in northern Canada, right? Beautiful. Let's get back here. So they face existential distress as they witness the ice, a big part of their identity, vanishing before their eyes. Before their eyes. Before their eyes. In front of them, or in front of their eyes. Okay? Because ice is melting, yeah, due to the global warming. And it's a big problem for those people who live on these iced areas. Now, if that weren't enough, the American Psychological Association says that our psychological responses to climate change, like conflict avoidance, helplessness, and resignation, are growing. So our responses to climate change, like conflict avoidance, okay, our ability to avoid conflict, okay, helplessness and resignation are growing, okay, our responses to it are growing. This means that our conscious and unconscious mental processes are holding us back from identifying the causes of the problem for what they are, working on solutions, and fostering our own psychological resilience. But we need all of those things to take on what we've created. Yeah? I think this paragraph is okay. Yeah, I think it's okay. Next one. The hottest 20 years on record occurred within the last 22. Did you understand that? The hottest 20 years of history happened in the last 22. It means the world is getting much warmer. The UN, you know UN? UN, ONU, okay? United Nations, ONU. The UN expects that 2/3 of the global population may face water shortage in the near future, okay? Water shortage, okay? No water, less water for people. The World Bank predicts that by 2050, there's going to be 140 million climate refugees in sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America, and South Asia. And other estimates put the number at over 1 billion. Mass migrations and resource scarcity. Okay, scarcity means lack of something. Water scarcity, lack of water. Scarcity increase the risk for violence, war, and political instability. The UN just reported that we are pushing up to 1 million species to extinction, many within decades, and our emissions are still increasing, even after the Paris Agreement. Very complicated, huh? Very subtle situation, huh? Very, yeah. Beautiful. Let's move forward to the next paragraph. There's even a movement called Birth Strike, whose members have declared they're not going to have kids because of the state of the ecological crisis and inaction from governments to address this existential threat. Wow. birth strike movement. So people will not have kids, right? Because of inaction from government to address these existential threats. So to address is to tackle a problem, okay? To discuss, to solve, okay? Other generations have also faced their own apocalyptic dangers, but there is no reason to disregard, to ignore the very real threats to our survival now. Some feel that it's better to adopt children, or that it is unethical to have more than one, especially 3, 4 or more, because kids increase greenhouse gas emissions. Do you remember greenhouse gas emissions? Okay. Efeito estufa. Are you someone with climate-linked pre-traumatic stress? Are you someone with linked pre-traumatic stress? A climate psychiatrist coined that term. Coined. So he or she or they. They coined. Okay? No, don't put I. I coined. Cunhei. Del verbo, no. Okay. She coined. Okay? Cunhou. Okay? The verb is cunhar. Create a new word. Okay? A climate psychiatrist coined that term. And that's a profession now. By the way, shrinks for climate wolves. Shrink is the name given to psychiatrists, therapists, psychologists, right? So people call them shrink. For climate wolves. Wolves, problems, issues. Okay? So shrinks, psychologists, psychiatrists, or therapists for climate problems. They're getting work at a time when some high schoolers don't want to apply to university any longer because they can't predict a future for themselves. Right now, students around the world are screaming for change in the piercing voice of despair. Ooh, poetical and beautiful. In the piercing voice of despair. What does a piercing do? Piercing? Pierces, okay? So in the piercing voice of despair, okay? Very poetical. And the fact that we can see how we contribute to this problem that makes us feel unsafe is crazy making in itself. Climate change is all-encompassing. All-encompassing means abrangente. And so are the ways that it messes with our minds. And so are the ways it messes with our minds. Many activists will tell you that the best antidote to grief is activism. And some psychologists will tell you the answer can be found in therapy. Others believe that the key is to imagine you are on your deathbed. You know, deathbed? Deathbed. Leito de morte. Reflecting back on what's mattered the most in your life so you can identify what you should do more of now with the time that you have left. We need all these ideas and more to take care of our innermost selves. Innermost selves. Eu interior. So I have to take care of I have to take care of my innermost self. I have to take care about o meu interior. As the environments we've known become more punishing toward us. And whether you have children or not, we need to be honest about what is happening and what we owe one another. Ou dever. What we owe one another. We cannot afford to treat the psychological impacts of climate change as some afterthought. Afterthought, something that you don't worry now. You'll think about it later, okay? Because the other issues of science, technology, and the politics and economy feel hard, while this somehow feels soft. Yeah. Okay, in the last paragraph, mental health needs to be an integral part of any climate change survival strategy, requiring funding and ethics of equity and care, and widespread awareness. Awareness. It's consciousness, okay? Because even if you are the most emotionally avoidant person on the planet, there's no rug in the world that is big enough to sweep this up under. Okay, so rug means tapete, huh? Rug. So there's no rug in the world that is big enough, no, to sweep this up under, no? Did you get the expression? Even if you're the most emotionally avoidant person on the planet, like you don't worry about it, you don't care about it, there's no rug in the world that you can sweep up, no, all of these problems, all of these woods under this rug. Okay? Interesting text, don't you think? Have you ever thought about it? How important the environment, how important the weather is in our lives, in our mood, in our relationship, in our coexistence with other people. Beautiful, huh? Yeah, now you're going to answer these questions about the text, and we are going to correct them in the next lesson. So, see you soon.